Okay kids, time to slide this axle back in. And oh nope, don't want to do that yet. I want to clean this hub surface here for the wheel bearing to go back in. That'll be a lot easier. So just have a little wire wheel. Clean this surface up too. It's really just this piece here. This part doesn't matter, but right on this flat part right here is where I need to clean that up. Because remember, this is coming back apart again. Well, unfortunately, I don't have any anti-seize. I thought that I did. So I'm just using some grease. Honestly, I've seen anti-seize on brake jobs that I've done over the years where, you know, they come back a year or so later and I know that I'm the one that worked on it and that anti-seize is all flaked up and pretty much useless once it bakes on there. So I don't know what's the preferred use here, but this will at least keep the rust at bay a little bit. So I mean, it came off relatively easy, so I should be fine without doing this. But knowing I have to pop this wheel bearing back off again to fix my oops with my axle at a later date, that's why I'm doing this. Something else, if you did not have an ABS system problem, what you would want to do is electrically unplug your wheel speed sensor, because the anti-lock brake system is going to look for this wheel to rotate, and when it doesn't see it, it will start pulsing the brake, and without that tone ring there, it's not going to see it, and then we'll have an ABS kind of action stop on every stop, and we don't want that. So we want to force a fault code, and to do that you just unplug one of the electrical connections of the wheel speed sensors, any one of them, and it'll disable the ABS system. Fortunately for me, I had a fault code in here already and I don't have to do that, but just a tip there for you guys if you screw up like I did. The plastic ring that went around the axle is no good too, so I screwed up twice. I messed up that little plastic ring and I messed up my tone ring as well. That little plastic piece, it really is for debris to keep from getting in there. I'd like to have it back. Maybe I can glue it. Just needed to see the depth of where I was. Okay, almost forgot my backing plate. Do a little cleanup on this too. So that goes first, and then the wheel bearing goes after. I think. Something else I want to warn you guys of, and you saw when I was using this axle in the vise, I wrapped the rag around this. I actually did booger those splines up just a teeny bit, and that's going to prevent this from sliding on. I'm just making one mistake after another. This isn't bad, easily cleaned up with a small file if I have one. Well, this will certainly be a good how-to video for some of you. How not to screw up changing a drive axle or a, what do you want to call this U-joint? It's not a drive shaft U-joint, a a wheel U-joint, the front drive axle U-joint. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm actually kind of embarrassed by this whole job, to the point where I don't even want to post it. I have to. Just swallow my pride. The point of this video was for the do-it-yourselfer, and what better way to learn you're doing this yourself when you see someone make a mistake and you understand why and the mistakes that were made. This is an easy fix, what I'm doing right here. As long as you didn't gouge the splines, which I did not. They're just boogered them up a little bit. I could have forced this hub wheel bearing assembly back onto this, but this is a technique that is also important. You know how to clean splines up. You understand why things are binding up on you, going back together. Let's see if I boogered this up in a few places here. And the issue here was, without having a press in my garage, I had to use my vise to hold this stable while I smacked that tone ring off, and that's where I kind of messed these up a little bit. A little bit of penetrating oil on the splines of that. See how that slid right on there now? Nice and easy. Torque spec on these. Okay guys, I was just checking some torque specs off camera, and let's give props where this is due. This is from www.cherokeeforum.com, and man, we'll even give the guy's username, Razor02097. So thank you, Mr. Razor, for these torque specs. We have the 13mm 12-point bolts are 75 foot-pounds, and the axle nut is 175 foot-pounds. So yeah, thanks guys. 75 and 175. So I'll torque them. Unfortunately my little cheap torque wrench here only goes up to 150. So I'll go 150 and then kind of give it a little bit more for the axle. But what I'll do though is, just for you guys, let's check the torque spec on these axle. The wheel bearing bolts. 75 is what these should be. I probably have them tighter than that. I do. Like I said, I tend to over tighten. Although that top one did move just a smidge. I think when you're teaching something, it's really important to do proper procedures, because, you know, I say, and that one's tight too. I say that, you know, if you got a feel for it, we all do this as professional mechanics. We don't torque everything that we come across, because we know what it feels like. You have a feel for what 100 foot-pounds feels like. You have a feel for things like that. But as a maybe do-it-yourselfer and it's your first time, you don't have a feel for it. And depending on the tool you're using, the leverage you have, it can really change things. So torquing things down properly is really important when you're new to this stuff. Okay, so this one's 175, and what I'll do in the field a lot is I'll do these ones on the ground, but you can do it as we did coming off, which is taking the rotor. Did I just put that on backwards? I totally did. I put the backing plate on backwards. My goodness. My goodness. It has been one thing after another. Do we leave this mistake? Might as well. I'm pretty much screwing everything up on this whole job. So, and you should never use your torque wrench to loosen a bolt. At least that's what we're told, but whatever. I can't believe I did that. Part of the problem too for me, guys, is we're talking like a week since I pulled this apart. So some of this happens when you walk away from a job. I was even looking at that. No big deal. Further reinforcing, if it doesn't have a wire on it, Danner can't fix it. I promise, guys, I can fix things. This one's just beating me up a little bit. I can imagine if I went back into the field right now, I would probably be embarrassing myself a lot the first couple of months. You know, I've been teaching now for 16 years, and so I haven't been wrenching on a regular basis. Hey, it's a good thing that we didn't force this axle or hub assembly on, right? Imagine if we did that. I would be really, really upset right now because I wouldn't be able to get it back off. I can't believe I did that. I know the whole time, last couple of minutes you guys have been watching, one of you guys are screaming at the camera, "Your hub's on backwards, your hub's on backwards." Or not hub, the backing plate. Stupid. Well, I showed you guys all kinds of rookie mistakes today, didn't I? Anyway, I often thought about that. What would it be like going back in the field? I think my resume would be really awesome, but once I get into the shop and start doing the repair part, I think I would I'd be doing stuff like you saw for a while till I really got back up to speed. But it wouldn't take long, guys. One thing about being a mechanic, like, this stuff comes back to you quickly and it comes naturally. There's a certain mindset that a mechanic has, and I apologize for those of you that maybe I offended in the past, and it was not my intent when I called this mindless work. I have in the past, many times, on many occasions, called this type of stuff mindless work. And it's just not. It is not. And I only meant mindless compared to the real deep thought processes that you have to go through when it comes to troubleshooting. You know, you just don't have those same thought processes. Come on. Okay, I just broke a cardinal rule. You never tighten the other ones down until you have all the bolts in. I'm a little bit distracted by the camera and by talking. That was another rookie mistake, thinking I had all three in. And I didn't. Talking to you guys, being distracted. So as a rule for you do-it-yourselfers out there, again, the intent of this video is for you guys. Don't tighten any of your bolts until you start them all. So it's that like the fourth or fifth mistake I've made now on this whole job. 75 foot-pounds. Alright. Now, we can tighten this axle nut. What I was going to say before you saw me screw up again was we can put this on the ground with the wheel on it, then tighten that. But we can also do it this way, where we put the rotor on. Here, I can use my cut off 7/8 wrench. Stick that bad boy in the rotor and just use the spindle to hold it. I'm going to have to stand up for this one. So we'll max out the torque wrench at 150 and then we'll go a little bit more. I do not have a bigger torque wrench, so we'll use what we have. There's 150. There you go. Did 150 and a smidge more. Put our little wave washer, goes on there next. Doesn't really matter which way you put that. And then a new cotter pin. What I typically do with cotter pins, you don't want to cut through the cotter pin, you'll dull your dike, so you just put a little crimp mark in it, then you grab it and twist, and that'll save your dikes from getting dull. Don't leave these in your driveway. Let's go throw those away right now. They'll end up in your tire. I think we'll wrap up this part of the video for the axle. No, we won't. I was going to finish. Shoot, I'm trying to think of where to segment these. I've shot all of this together, so I think I need to do an intro for the axle still, and then I need to show you the other side how to check it, so let's do that right now. Okay, obviously the wheel is off the ground here, guys. The tire is on, and what we want to look for is as we rotate the tire, this outer part right here, so this part of the U-joint should rotate exactly with the tire because it's splined to the wheel bearing. And what we don't want to see is when we go back and forth, we don't want to see any movement. So watch your, it's going to be hard to see with the camera, but what you want to look at is the air gap between these two pieces right here. So look at it and make sure that that isn't changing at all. If I move this wheel back and forth and you see any gap change here, then what that means is you have play in one of the cups of the U-joint. So I'll do that on really all four. I'll look at them closely, just kind of back and forth, wiggling that. That looks good. And you know, it's hard to tell, honestly, because I did this with the other side and I didn't feel any play. It was not until I pulled it apart that I did. But at least we know this, right? I am in no danger of towing this vehicle this weekend, which is 2 days from now. That is my main concern. If that axle would snap, that would be bad. I probably could still tow it home, but yeah, I didn't want any issues there. So another thing you could do, and this would help, is if I could grab this part with my left hand while I'm moving the tire with my right hand. The problem with that is I have to put this light down and you guys are not going to be able to see as well. Let's see if I can situate this in a way that that would work. So I'm moving the tire with my one hand, holding this with the other, feeling for play. There is play in that. This one needs to be replaced. Hear that click? Right there. And I have it. So even though you couldn't see it, I can feel it. There should not be that clicking should not be there. Not bad enough to fall apart, guys, but certainly enough to change it. My plans were not to do anything with this side other than changing the brakes, but I'd be foolish not to. I have all the tools. So do I film this side too? I don't know that I'm going to. I showed you guys how to do it on the other side. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Wish I could show you that on camera, but I can't. Well, let's pull it out. I'll show you guys. We'll keep filming. Well, you saw that we have play in the driver's side too, so we need to do that side, and I'll keep you guys with me. Maybe this time I won't do anything stupid, but before we do the driver's side, what I need to do is I need to wrap up this passenger side. I don't like to have things apart on one side and then start on another side. Let's finish where we are first. Okay, I don't know if you guys noticed when I did the air conditioning video on this, how when I was finishing up, when I had that fast forward part, that I was touching everything, and I did that in the field a lot. I want to make sure that I'm not leaving anything loose, and so I'll physically touch every bolt that I had moved and took off. So the axle nut, the 3 wheel bearing bolts, the upper and lower ball joints, and so it's touch, and okay, good. So I'm done with that part. The next thing that I would do is I would actually save that till the end. We'll get the brake assembly back on, and I would touch those bolts, and then I would hang the tire on, put 1 lug nut on, and now I know for sure that I didn't leave anything loose on this side of the vehicle, and I can go and move around the car and do the other repairs. It's just a way to keep from honestly killing someone. If you leave a bolt loose, we could kill people. We need to think about what we're doing. Alright, so I am changing the rotors and the pads, and I mentioned this big scuff here, or the gouge in the slide. We need to do something about that. Look at the gouge in that. When I bought this kit that was supposed to be a piece that slid over top of this, and it's not. I don't think the kit that I bought is actually going to work. These will help somewhat, but it's going to take up the play on the bottom part, not on here. I've seen people weld this and then grind it down, but this is something that is going to need some more attention later, and I just don't have the ability to do that right now. So we'll grind this down some and see what it looks like when we're done. These are so bad, man. It really needs to replace this whole spindle, which is what I should have done. This thing's nickel and diming me, and to fix this properly, I mean, unless I can buy a whole shim that goes over that, this is not the right fix. It will work. It'll be better than what it was, but I don't know. We'll see. I actually took this one and rounded the edges of that so the pad doesn't catch on that. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen right now is they're going to click on me. But I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take the edges of that off so the pad doesn't stick in there. Shoe, pad, whatever. That's horrible. Again, this will have to be reworked, guys. I need to do something with these. This is not acceptable. If this is a customer's car, I'm not letting it go like this. The reason I'm putting it back together now, again, is I'm towing this thing in 2 days. I'm not going to be using the brakes at all. I'm using the brakes on my RV. I can tow 10,000 pounds. This thing weighs maybe 3,700 pounds dry. So, you know, I'm just doing some local grocery store shopping with the Jeep, and very unhappy with putting this together, but I have no choice right now. The brakes will be fine for what I'm using it for. Let's grease these slides up. These are about as bad as I've seen, but that makes sense for the mileage that's on this. There's 300,000 miles on this vehicle, and certain parts of this were not maintained, and this is one of them. You know, I hesitate putting new pads and rotors on this but I'm going to anyway. It came with those. This kit, I paid $10 for this kit. Just send that back. The one that I wanted, I asked my friend Pete if they sell the slide that fits there. He said that they do, but anyway, this kit, it came with them. This is from Advance. I'm not a huge fan of these, but wherever golds. Alright, so what we want to do first is, without putting these pads into the caliper, I want to see we have a left and right here we need to be careful of. I want to see the play in this. So we do have a left and right, and the reason you can see that, you see the outboard pad, how it has differences in the, here I'll put these next to each other. See the difference in the pad itself, and I don't remember if the flat part is top or bottom. So this would be the outboard. Look at all the play in that. That's why they give you those shims, but I just don't remember. I think I'm not sure. Let's think about the braking of this. Let's see if it tells us in the directions. You know, you can go by taking it off, but who's to say the last guy did them right? Okay, it does show it to me. So before we look, see if I'm right. So the wheel, when we go forward, the wheel is turning this way, right? And when you brake, that motion of this way would have a tendency to kick the pad out on the bottom. And so my guess is that the notched part is going to go down like this, as opposed to the other side. If I did it this way, here's the flat part would sit here, and the notched part at the top. I don't think so. Because the way that would work is that would kind of keep it centrifugal force, or the force of rotating that way would keep this from kicking out, and it would also pull the top in. So my guess is that's the way it goes. Let's see, we got brake rotation here on the trailing edge or load bearing end of the disc pads. We'd want them on this end, but it's not telling me about the, shoot, could phone a friend. Look at the other side, but do we trust it? I think I threw the old shoes away already. Damn it. Last thing I want to do is show you guys how to do this wrong.
Hello?
Pete.
Yeah.
Hey, quick question about these brake shoes on my Jeep. One side has a square notch, like where it goes onto the slide, and then the other side's more flat. Do you know which end goes where? Like the squared off part that rides on the slide? I'm guessing
The rounded part goes to the top.
the rounded part goes to the top.
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought. That makes sense.
Yeah, the square part's on the bottom. Yep.
Square part's on the bottom, and that keeps it from kicking out, doesn't it? Like with the rotation, of the wheel, with the rotation of the wheel, that's going to keep that from kicking out, which is why it goes on
the top part. The rounded part will go up against
the top, and that's where. And I put the shim on the top part. Those shims, yes, that's what it's.
Oh, the shims for the rear, right.
Yeah.
For the disc,
Yep.
Right.
And yeah, gotcha. Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
All right, cool, man. Thank you.
All right, Paul.
All right,
Yes,
Pete.
thanks.
All right, bye. It's my thickest one. All right, so that is the way it goes, guys. This part's on the bottom, and then this piece that takes up play goes on the top up here like that. Okay? And I still have a ton. It's gonna sit about there. Wonder if this other kit came with thicker ones than that. Nope, it's the same form, same exact kit. I hate fixing things half-assed, and that's the thickest shim I have. That sucks. You definitely don't want to double these up. Okay, the inside pad, same thing. We'll sit this way and here, and we'll use the same 25 thousandths shim. Put that on the top. That won't be too bad. Alright, I'm guessing the other side's going to be equally as crappy. So what I'm going to do now to aid in this process is some disc brake quiet. Just putting it on the contact points. You'll see people put this and they'll coat the pads. You don't have to. These are the contact points. The piston will hit here on these ones, and then the caliper will be on the outer parts here. So okay, before we do anything else, almost forgot, let's get this anti-lock brake wheel speed sensor back on, even though it's not going to read anything. A common problem with these guys is what actually happens here in the rust belts is underneath this. So when a slide gets screwed up, it's not so much where I just lubricated it, it's actually underneath the rubber part. So what you'd do is you would take the slide out, and then you take the boot out completely, and then you'd want to sand inside of here, and even a little round foul, and get all of the rust off of there, and then put your pin back in, and that will fix your issue. And of course lubricate it underneath too, which will keep it from rusting. But this one's good. This one's a little bit snug, and that's where my issue is going to be. It's not so much here. So the snugness of that, it's okay. I'm not going to do it. Just going to put a little grease on that. Be happy about it. There's enough free movement in that. I'm fine with it. But that's what you would do. Maybe we'll show it on the other side if it has it. But I'm good with that. Let's get this back. Let's get this side together. It's got the protectant on it. Keeps them from rusting. Gotta get this stuff off of here. Some brake clean. My favorite stuff. This thing's a piece of shit. This Jeep. Just needs a lot of work, man. I definitely paid too much for this. Slide the bottom in first, move your pins back, and then the top will slide on. That's it. Make sure your brake line's not twisted up. Get these back in. Mail just came. I wonder if it's my ratchets. That would be sweet. This might not be too bad, guys, as far as the rattling goes. And honestly, it's not unsafe. These slides have seen better days. Question is would I send this car away if it was not my own? I don't know. I mean, I'd certainly let the customer be aware of it. This is not a safety issue. These brakes will still work just fine. But yeah, it's not good. So there's the gap that you worry about in between the two. You see where it's going to ride for now until the pads wear down some. Again, the squared notch goes on the bottom, as I suspected. Alright, so I don't want to put this wheel on yet because I wanted to flush the brake fluid too, and I'll do that later. But this would be a point where I would touch everything. Touch my wheel bearing, my ball joints. I have to put my ABS speed sensor back in, but then what I do is hang a wheel on this side, or even just putting that lug nut right there. It's just a reminder to me that everything's good on this side. We can go work on the other side. I'm just going to throw, as soon as I find the bolt for this, I'm going to bolt that back in just so I don't mess it up, and then we'll go to the other side. Okay, here's the deal. I will keep the camera rolling for this passenger side, but I'm not speaking to you. This is all going to be fast forward mode unless I find something that is cool and worth talking about. Okay, deal? Alright, then I'll film it. Had a battery change there, so not sure how much you lost. I'm going to keep going. See if I can show you guys the play out here. This one's definitely bad. It's real bad this way. You can actually see the rust coming out of this side. Pretty tough to feel the play though, let alone show it to you. Well, we're changing it. Let's go in the garage and change it. I broke that one too. I was trying to be careful. Whatever. I'm not doing any off-roading in this thing anyway. Trying to get these damn clips out. It's gonna suck. Okay, I need to talk for a second. Out of all of my chisels, I wouldn't think it was the biggest one, well, second to the biggest one, that's actually helping me more than these smaller ones. Anyway, big chisel. And I think it's also helping. The last time I took this one apart first before I did these ones, I don't remember. It's kind of nice to have this in the vise while I'm doing this side. I'm not sure. Alright, let's do this. Timeout, which is, this one's coming out, which is fine. So let's pound, got it. Let's do this. Pound this one down. Since the other side's coming out, being careful I don't mess up my drive plate. But this cup's coming out, so that's going to give me room to pound it down. In hopes of getting that clip out. Okay, pause for a second. Here's what I did when I broke the last side, and I was pressing this one back out, if you remember, because I had to shave this off. What I had done wrong is I had the axe or the U-joint, I had it at an angle like this, and I didn't realize it. And so when I pressed it out, that's what broke the tone ring. Okay? Make sure you don't do that. Very, very foolish on my part. Look at that. That was pretty much solid, frozen solid. I smashed that one, no big deal. Pretty much all meshed together. Those bearings, it's crazy. Let's see if I try not to smash this side. That could have been bad. I need to start this first. So what happened is it was cockeyed, then it smashed the cup. A little tip for you, tap it back in first. Okay, I don't know if that's showing up on camera. That's not a crack. That's from my chisel. That's from me gouging it out, trying to get those snap rings out or C-clips out. You know, there's another technique you could use if you wanted to get this cup in further. You could actually hold it on the one side, so keep the U-joint in, okay, all the way to keep those needle bearings from coming out. And then what we could do is we could just compress the one side. As long as I'm keeping it against that cup, I can do it. You know, as long as you're not pressing hard too. I don't want to bend this ear. Not that you would, but I've never done it this way. But so what I did is I pressed it in on the one side, and now when I put this cup in, I'm not really fighting both sides. It is very common to knock some of these needle bearings out if you're not careful. And so with this inside piece extended through now, when I put this cup on, I can feel it that I am absolutely not, and I'm very confident now in pressing that. So I actually like that. That's the first time I ever did it that way. I have enough clearance right now on the inside. No reason to not put that clip in. So let's do that. That one's in. Ah, that's what you don't want to do. I just dropped that one off of this end. So what I want to do, if you unintentionally do that and this drops on the ground, do an eyeball on those needle bearings. Make sure they're all there. So spin it all the way. It looks good. None of them fell inside, so we're okay. Crisis averted. Alright, so I have to get this pressed this way further, and at this point well, I could work with the other side now. Let's do that. Then we'll put the ball joint press or C clamp, whatever you want to call that thing, back in. There's other ways to do this. I could, again, without that tool, I think you'd be really hurting, but you can actually take this now, because what I need is I need this to go that way a little bit so I can get this C-clip in. So I can actually take those, tap gently here, being careful that my cups don't come off. Okay, and now what I can do is I can tap on the top of this one. Had plenty of room to do that, and now you can see I have plenty of room to put that clip in now. So just different techniques. I think it helps to know more than one. That one is in. Now the only thing now is this is tight, right? The reason it's tight is I jammed it that way. So let's bring it back this way a little bit toward the last clip that I just put in. Just gently. Look at that. See, why couldn't I have done it that way the first time? Cool? Alright. See, what I could do if I was a shyster is I could pretend that this was the other side and say, look how easy that was. Nah, we're not going to do it that way. We're going to show all the oopses here. Alright, now let's do this side. It's easier with another person for sure. I'll use my toolbox to help me. Let's do that same technique again. Let's work with one. I like that. I really like that. So I'll put the one side in, keeping pressure upward towards it. Okay? That way I know for sure that those needle bearings on that side are not going to come out. So I'm keeping pressure again toward the cup. So see how the U-joint is angled toward this cup? And then I'll just press the one side, just using my vise while I'm keeping that tension there. Still difficult to do with this. Kind of need another hand here. So I want to keep this straight. I don't want to make the mistake that I made before. Keeping pressure with this part against the cup that I'm pushing in, so I know that my bearings are staying where they need to. That one is in. I could actually put a clip in there right now too. Let's do that. Yeah. Alright. And now this one is sticking out. Whoop, don't want that to do that. Okay, you saw how I accidentally moved that out of there. That's okay. Just if it comes out all the way, just make sure that it seats all the way. Because if it doesn't seat into the cup all the way, that means one of the needle bearings fell out, sitting at the bottom. Alright. I really like that method a lot. Just tapping gently here, not hard. Not hard at all. Just using the weight of the hammer. Just hoping that I have enough to get that one in. This is where I ran into a problem last time. Okay, so I'm just barely there. So what we want to do is drive it that way. Unfortunately, with this side, what you would do is you would hit it. You'd hit it in this area, but again, I can't. So if I tap it gently here, I'm just trying to put the pressure on this side so I get the clip on the other side. Might have worked. Then take the top of this. I guess what I'm doing, guys, I'm showing you a way to do it, at least get back together without the tool. Do I have enough to get that clip in? Just about. A little teeny bit more. Yep, that should go in. I may have to coax it in a little bit with a chisel. Last one's always the hardest. I'll do that. Is that in all the way? Yes. Yes. Done. Now why couldn't I have done the other side like that? I was swearing at it and all kinds of stuff. Looking at these clips. Done, and I didn't break anything. I think I redeemed myself on this side, guys. I'll let you be the judge. Sweet. All right, man, let's go put this back in the car. That wasn't bad, huh? What do you guys think? Thinking maybe I make a separate video on how to do a drive or a front axle U-joint. Make it a separate video, because that was the way to do it. Certainly wasn't the other side. They got a little redemption here for this one. That went really smooth. So where are we at next? I need to align this at my brother's work. and I need to change this track bar in the front. I don't know, I can't get you in there with me. I'll show it to you. It's this guy right here. So one half attaches to the axle, and then the other half of this attaches to frame. So, this half attaches to the front differential, and then this half attaches to the frame. And I did get this one from Amazon when I ordered the AC parts, and I may have paid $25 or $30 for this, and everywhere else I could find it, it was going for $100. And I don't remember the part I used. If this works good, I'll put this part in the description of this video as well. I guess I have you with me. I might as well take you under and let you see me do this part. This might suck a little bit, but anything else we need to talk about? Oh, the ABS light. We'll do that at a later time. I'm not worried about it right now. I know some of you want to see that. You will. I'll do that later. When we fix the tone ring on the other side, I'll do the ABS system. But I got to get this to my brother's work and align it. Maybe I'll show you some clips of that while we're there. And we'll pause this here. Next step is the front. I think it's a track bar, stabilizer bar, I don't know, something like that.